Well, Bill, welcome to the show. You know, there's so much going on in the world, Bill. I feel like that old airplane movie. I picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue. I mean, I have been up since 4 in the morning with all this going on all over the world, and we're going to try to knock it all out today. We got a lot of information to go through. What do we got on the show today, Bill?
Well, first up, we're going to talk more about the odd anonymous contributions, especially very small ones that we found flowing through the Georgia GOP. We have a very special guest. Chris Gleason is going to join us to round out that discussion, given his very deep background in all of the money flow research that he and his team have done. We'll also get a chance to hear from David Cross. He's going to come on, and now that we're a week away or a little bit less from the state convention for the Georgia GOP, I wanted to get a sense of what has it been like running through a campaign when you are blocked from getting access directly to the delegates in normal ways. So I thought we'd hear that, and then we've got a couple other things to talk about. If you recall, we'd discussed the strange communication cutoff that seems to be occurring within the Georgia GOP. I wanted to go back through the questions that have been posed through by Amy Kremer, and we wonder why those questions have gone now a month without answering. So we'll take a look at that. And then there might be some interesting stuff happening on the national front, maybe.
Yeah, a lot to go through. We're going to get through it all. I will say that we are running some ad campaigns on X to different countries, and we're getting a massive response out of India, which I find very interesting. It's English-speaking country to a large part of it. And just for our new watchers and viewers there, we have a no-ad subscription. You can get access to the whole CDM network without any advertisements popping up on your phone or your computer. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. Very just like a frou-frou cup of coffee at Starbucks once a month, and you get access to the best news out there. It's not everything, but it's curated to you get what you need to know. So check us out. Please support us there, because it's really important that we get revenue every week or every month coming in that we can count on, and that's in addition to other things that happen, but that's just a base for us. So we really appreciate the support. I'm going to turn it over to you, Bill. Let's get going with our first guest.
Okay, sounds great. Let's welcome in Chris Gleason. Chris, thank you so much for making time today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. For folks that don't know yet, you have done years now of work looking at money flows and something called smurfing, that is a mechanism for parties to transfer money around through NGOs to campaigns to intermediaries and so forth, and try to keep it under the radar, I guess is the way I would describe it. So you're recognized as one of the most expert in this in the country, if not the most expert. And so we wanted to invite your feedback on some things that we've found here in Georgia, and I bet you have some. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So last week we spoke about the odd anonymous contributions, many of them very small, that we found associated with the Georgia Republican Party as we were looking through Transparency USA, and notably, not all their contributions came in this way. Obviously, they had many very large contributions that came from the Republican National Committee and Trump Force 47 and others. But when you look through, there seemed to be a very high number of these anonymous contributions. We found, we believe, about 91 pages of them, which seems astounding. And so reaching out to you and the team, we wanted to get your feelings as to what these might be. So let me stop there and get out of your way and let you take over.
Sure. So there are software, AI, used and developed to catch this sort of behavior. And what they look for are anomalies in established patterns. And one of the ways that they evade that is by warming up the money laundering machine. And one of the ways to do that is by making small repeated donations or contributions over time. And so as we investigated the structuring and smurfing and straw donation machine nationwide, what we see is there's always a warm up to the process where you'll have a certain account warmed up by making these small contributions. You know, they start out, you know, a penny, 2 pennies, 20 cents, 10 cents, and then they ramp up. But ultimately, what they'll end up doing is they'll stop just shy of the threshold where reporting has to kick in. At least that's what we see at the FEC level, federally. Now, what we do know,
just one data point, just to make sure we see it on the screen. We looked for that when we saw your post regarding things down to 10, 20 cents. And lo and behold, we did find some that are at that 20-cent level, including one associated with somebody that's a known entity inside the Georgia GOP. Now, we don't know whether this was actually done by this person, but we did take the time to actually speak to one of the other folks that we actually know that had a very small contribution. And we asked, did you make a contribution of X? And it was very small. It was below a couple of bucks in this date time frame. And they said, no, I don't know anything about that. So sorry for interrupting. Go right ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. So that is something that we typically see nationwide. A lot of the people listed in these reports, they didn't make them. And, I mean, we've been interviewing these folks for forever, and they don't appear to know about it. Or more often than not, they're aware that that something's going on, but on the Democrat side, they're typically, well, I'm a good Democrat, so whatever they're doing, it's okay. I'm just going to let them do it as long as it's not affecting my money. And we saw that when we interviewed Letitia James's top Smurf, who was located in Tampa, and we also saw it in one of the nation's top Smurfs in Colorado. And James O'Keefe had sent somebody out to interview her, and she was at the top of the list at the time at about 69,000 transactions. So they take an identity, they borrow it, they fund a prepaid credit card account or whatever, and they make the contributions in her name. And but ultimately, it's not their money.
You left out the part where the money goes to Ukraine, then it funds the card. That's a key point.
Yeah, that part. Or it goes to USAID, and then it goes, or it goes to some NGO, or it's and every step of the way, somebody gets a cut, right? So it is an actual factual money laundering RICO operation, and your consultants, your fundraisers, your list brokers, everybody, the attorneys, the accountants, everybody's taking a cut. So
this is very broad too. I remember in other conversations you've talked about this being in probably easily in the billions. Is that right?
Tens of billions or more.
Wow.
I mean, because we've identified that this operation really started off at scale beginning in 03, 04. And then John Kerry was, it appears like one of the first presidential candidates to benefit from this. And then it ramped up over time. Once Obama got behind the machine, they really blitz scaled it up. And it's been growing exponentially ever since.
Well, luckily, Chris, the Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are on it, and Pam Bondi. They're talking about it every day, how they're going to shut it down, right?
We'll see. I mean, in their defense, I did call out the FEC over the past month or so, explicitly in emails to them, to the commissioners, saying how their obfuscation of the contribution and FEC data was willful, knowingly, and helped establish criminal intent. And amazingly, we just got access to the data that we've been asking for quite some time.
Wow.
And so we'll see. I mean, I did copy.
Is it data with the hashtags removed at the top, or?
That's the EAC. That's the Federal Election Assistance Commission.
Okay.
This is the Smurf data that we've got them on.
Gotcha.
The EAC, they haven't had their come to Jesus moment yet.
Gotcha.
But I'm hoping they will.
Well, so one of the things that I want to make sure people are aware is this is not the first time that these concerns have been raised in Georgia. You had written an article going back, I believe, just over a year, and it highlighted some really serious problems with regard to, again, anonymous donations, but in this case, quite a number of them, and adding up to very significant money. And it was very fascinating to watch, the Georgia Ethics Commission seem to, I guess maybe their hearing, lapsed during that set of reports. Maybe you could take us quickly through here and then talk about, there's a document that you found where people had been warned about anonymous donations.
Yeah. So we first started looking at the Georgia state data with reference to Fannie Willis. And we had identified that she had a few hundred anonymous campaign finance donations. And so we started looking at that. We had identified that a large number of the donors to her previous campaigns were on our Smurf lists, because what we've done is rank all the Smurfs nationally. So we have some AI and a database that we've been tracking this. And so first we found Fannie Willis, then we found that Brian Kemp and guys like McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, they had the Republican version of Smurfing going on. And what was interesting is we had a document that was sent to us, allegedly from the Georgia GOP, where they explicitly said that anonymous contributions were strictly prohibited. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that, the governor of Georgia had taken in so many strictly prohibited campaign finance contributions, as did Fannie Willis.
It was like 12,000 for Kemp, right?
12,000 for Kemp, yeah. And what was really interesting is that my counterpart from Wisconsin, Peter Bernagher, he had filed an ethics commission complaint against Fannie Willis. And the Georgia Ethics Commission, apparently nobody at the Ethics Commission had any ethics. So it's kind of like the Patriot Act, it's kind of anti-patriotic. So they apparently didn't see any issues with the disclosure that Peter made. And what they ended up doing was they blocked Peter's emails. So I guess they didn't investigate and they just blocked his emails. So I guess the saying, everyone's dirty, so everyone's clean, applies particularly in Georgia.
Let me make sure people understand that. So Peter had raised, and yourself, had raised the issue with these, and it was, in the case of Brian Kemp, it was thousands of contributions, if I recall correctly, like 12,000. And when that was surfaced and when people started asking direct questions about it, Mr. Bernagher's email was blocked, so he could no longer correspond with the Ethics Commissioner Board. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. After he filed a complaint. So, I mean,
I can't help but laugh, but it almost makes you want to cry. Like, how bad is this? You know.
Well, I tell you, during my campaign, I ran for supervisor of elections here in Pinellas County. We did a lot of polling because the guy who taught me everything I know about politics, guy by the name of Roger Stone, he had told me how a lot of candidates, when they go out run, the first thing they do is they go out and say, "Hey, I'm going to rent an RV, and I'm going to plaster my name on it, and I'm going to drive it around." Well, and nobody ever does any polling first. Well, I did a lot of polling, and our polling showed that 93% of everyone across the entire political spectrum all believe that there should be no cheating in the elections. And so apparently the 7% or the people who are running the elections are in control of the elections and are currently in positions of power.
Oh, goodness. Let me go back to something you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, and that was this document that specified that anonymous campaign contributions are strictly prohibited in Georgia. You mentioned it came from the GOP, and this is the top of that document. This was a 2022 document sent out under the from the names Brandon Moy, who was executive director at that time, apparently, for the Georgia GOP, and one Karen Henschel, who is accounting director, and I believe still is in that role today. So this was back in 2022 that this was sent out. So these were, I mean, you would think that these were known constraints. You know, the very fact that they took time to tell candidates, this was a candidate guidance document, that contributions that are anonymous are prohibited, you would think would apply to all, wouldn't you?
One would think. I had some questions about what we've seen, and I actually reached out to both of those individuals the other day, and I sent them an email for some clarification, and I requested the more recent documents, the ones for the 2024 and now 2026, because we're in 2026 season now.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly, I have not heard back from them yet.
Okay. Well, they might be delayed in preparation for the state convention, but I'm sure folks will follow up and ask those questions and see when their response will be on the way. So as we go forward, I mean, this, to make sure people understand, this is not, at least it doesn't sound like it's one place. It's not even one party, is it? It appears to be
Well,
across.
it's one party, really. It's the Purple Party.
Yeah.
It's the Uniparty, and the Uniparty is collectively working against we the people. So, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, they're both sides are doing it, and they are robbing the rest of us of a constitutional form of government, and this is deeply problematic. Deeply.
You know, I've come to realize that this apparatus we're facing is really just an instrument being used by a much larger and more powerful force that wants something, an outcome in this world. And the interesting thing I just want to bring out briefly is the interview that Catherine Austin Fitts did with Tucker. She said, in today's world with this phone, everybody has their own way of being manipulated. They're listening to you, and they have the data that they can do individual manipulation programs on every person, whether it's money, blackmail, career, threats, whatever. And so the people that are watching this show that are doing this realize that you have to turn away from that and move toward the light, they should say.
Yep.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to make sure folks had access to, Chris, is you've written a number of things on this and continue to do so. You have a Substack, and you've also been very gracious to share your thoughts and findings with CDM in the past. So I wanted to show this first. This is an article that speaks to much of what you just discussed, going back to, I believe it was April or so of 2024 with regard to the Brian Kemp contributions and Fannie Willis and other things. You'll find this by going to Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com, and just do a search on any of the words in the title. You can search on devil if you wish, And this article will come up and you can read that and find more details and linked documents. The other thing is that what we talked about just a few minutes ago is up currently on the front page of the Georgia Record, and we will continue to add to this as we learn more with your gracious help and the help of your team. But how can people learn more about what you're doing and perhaps help your efforts if they choose to?
Well, I am on X. I post there. A lot of my posts are suppressed, but that's just the way it works. I write also for the Miami Independent. I have a Substack, and my Substack is immutabletruthelections.substack.com. I'm a bit censored there as well. So it's, you can always tell who's telling the truth by the level of suppression that's going on. Before I leave, I do want to leave you with this. So because the wonderful Georgia Ethics Commission has no ethics, and they've co-signed Fannie Willis's 200 and some odd and smurfing contributions, Fannie Willis took full advantage of that and blitz scaled. And so for the 2024 general election, I believe she had in excess of 42,000 anonymous campaign finance contributions.
Perfect.
Yeah. So they spent an awful lot of money. It's when you think about it, right? The amount of money that got plowed into her campaign for a job that pays, I don't know, 100,000 a year, millions and millions.
Well, and it's very likely that in some circular fashion, that's our money that is doing this.
Oh,
that's coming from the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to further findings. As we have people come forward here in Georgia and have additional data, we'll share that with you as well. And God bless you, sir, for all the work you're doing.
Hey, I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, take care.
Take care. Hey, Bill, I want to talk about one of our sponsors, which is Nucleo Boost, and we developed this with John B. Wells. I want to run a quick ad and then just talk about it briefly.
Watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
So if you go to cdmnutrition.com, this is what it looks like. This is empty, of course, because we use it every day, but it really adds to the stamina. We are rocking and rolling at CDM across the world all night long, and that helps everybody keep going steady as you go, and really helps with diseases that come down the pike. If you get a cold, it doesn't last that long, I've found, and it helps with autoimmune issues and other things. It's basically what your body needs at the cellular level, and it helps get into the cells. So check out cdmnutrition.com. Back to you, Bill.
Okay, we're ready to welcome in David Cross, who is running for chairman of the Georgia GOP. David, thank you for making time. I
My
know
pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you.
you have had just an overwhelming schedule, I know, for I guess over a month now. So, and that was kind of one of the things that popped into my head is, maybe get a sense from you how this has been. I know that you've got dozens of folks helping in any way that they can. Your wife and family have been helping in lots of different ways as well. And I want to make sure people understand that this is not this is kind of a daunting maneuver to get involved in one of these things. But gosh, it sounds like you're making progress. Tell us what the experience has been like, please.
So it's been a really good experience. I've had a lot of people that have reached out that want to help. And I've always said that everybody comes with different talents. Some people come with time, some people come with talent, some people come with treasure. And in this campaign, everybody has come with everything, and it's been astonishing. Last weekend, we hosted what I thought was supposed to be a small get together at our house. We were going to have maybe 6 or 8 people that were coming over from Cobb County to help out with phone banking, and I think I stopped counting when we got to 50 people, and it was 50 people from all different races and cultures and ethnicities and everything. It was a quilt of America, and it's been really humbling. It's been very humbling to see how many people have gotten involved, and they all want to take back our Republican Party. It's not the Republican Party. I'm not running to become chairman. I'm running to become our chairman, for this thing.
That seems to be a really key theme in this, and that is it's always, it seems like folks have a tendency to always focus on, well, I've been doing this for 10 years, I've been doing this for 5 years, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm the right one for the next thing. And unfortunately, what seems to be occurring is people are taking a look at that and going, yeah, but look where we are, and you were part of getting us here. We need some fresh ideas, some fresh faces, fresh thinking, maybe more energy. I don't know, but they're not willing to settle for the same things we were doing last year or the year before. They want something fresh going forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. What we're seeing is you're seeing 2 different factions out there. You're seeing the old crowd that's been around for a long time, of people that want to kind of climb up the different rungs on the political ladder, as far as whatever it's time or whether it's position or title or whatever. I've never been a title kind of person. It's just not anything that interests me. And we're seeing just a lot of people coming from everywhere that want to help out with this thing.
One of the things that I think folks are encouraged with, based on what I'm hearing, is the involvement. It sounds like everybody that wants to be involved, certainly everybody on the executive committee and beyond that wants to have a role, there will be a role found for them. Even if it isn't already predefined, because there's work for everybody, isn't there?
Listen, if you look at my website, there's 22 different objectives, and initiatives that we are going to have to achieve if we want to rebuild this party. And we've got to, I'm estimating it's probably going to take 120 to 130 people to accomplish this. I'm going to need people from all over the state with all kinds of different talents to help out with this thing. There's no way that I can do it all. And I learned a long time ago in my business career that my greatest talent is being able to inspire people and be the leader and tell them we need to go in that direction. And and then be able to put together the teams of the people that want to be able to help me get from point A to point B. I mean, I've got some technology folks that have helped me in the past, and they know what their skills are and they know what their limitations are. And I've frequently had conversations with some of these folks that have said, they literally come to me and say, don't ask me to be the leader. Tell me what I need to do in order to help advance the cause. And it's not that it's a deficiency or anything like that. It's the fact that it's really wonderful to be working with capable people that know what they're doing and know what their expertise is, and they want to contribute what they're best at. And so it's been wonderful to see it's been really wonderful to see how many people really have no ego, invested in this thing. I mean, even me. Listen, this is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in terms of trying to, in terms of trying to do something for election security and election integrity. It's been grueling, going all over the state, but it's also been really informative and it's been a lot of fun. And one of the jokes that I tell people is that, hey, if you've got friends out there, liberal friends out there that say, oh, the world is overpopulated and that kind of thing. I was like, you need to tell them to go visit South Georgia.
Well, so that you touched on something I just wanted to expand on. That is, even when you meet people from really diverse backgrounds, you hear their wants and their wishes for their family, for themselves. And they don't, no matter where they're coming from, no matter what their environment, community, and everything else, they don't sound that much different. People want very common things. They want safety for themselves and their family. They want an opportunity for decent health. They want to be able to raise their kids in an appropriate setting and with appropriate support. They want a chance at the American dream. And we saw that both through some of the things that you and others have said the past couple of months, but also going back to when Brian K. Pritchard had visited folks down in sort of urban Atlanta, and folks that do not come from a traditional Republican background, and heard much the same thing. And he said, well, who are you going to vote for? And many of them said, well, I'm voting for Trump because he's getting oppressed the way that sometimes our community feels like we may have been oppressed in the past. He's fighting the same way, and I'll stand next to him because he's going through many of the trials that that we feel. And
Exactly.
and it's not that hard to reach people when you listen to them and respect what they're trying to achieve for their own family.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm seeing right now is that the overwhelming majority of people that I talk with say that they cannot stand the fact that the Georgia GOP is basically in broadcast only mode. It's like listening to a radio station, and if you don't like the radio station, there's not another radio station to turn to. So we need to turn this into like a true two-way communication. With the people that are out there, and recognize the fact that there's people that can write big checks. But there's also people that that have got more modest means where taking $10 or $20 a month or asking for them to give that to this organization to help support their country. I think they'll do it, but they also want to know that it's not going to be wasted, because there's not a lot of wiggle room in a lot of people's budgets out there. But I got to tell you, man, I'm excited about what President Trump is doing. This country is capable of so much more. The state is capable of so much more in terms of economic prosperity. And I'm looking forward to a really fantastic decade or two.
Yeah.
David, it's really nice to hear of somebody put out a vision of what they want and not just dictate, as you said. That's fantastic. Reminds me of the old Patton quote: "Don't tell people what to do. Tell them, don't tell them how to do it. Tell them what to do, and they'll surprise you with their ingenuity." I mean,
Exactly.
that is what you're talking about, right? You're just going to say, do this and do it how you want it. Just get it done.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to have team leaders that are going to be on each one of these initiatives, and I'm not going to tell them what to do. It's just like with the video, the work that's been done, for my campaign. I've got a really capable, guy that or team that's handling that, and they frequently come to me when they first started and they said, "What's your vision? What do you want to do?" And I said, "Hey, here's the broad brushstrokes, but I want you to apply your talent, and I trust you, to come up with whatever you think is the right thing. And if it's not, then we'll go back and revisit it. But I'm trusting their artistic talent and expertise, and I haven't had to change anything. It's been amazing, what that team has turned out. So, my hat's off to Ty and Tanya. They've done fantastic work for me.
Fantastic.
So one of the things that's happened in the last few days is it appears that Elon Musk is approaching the point where he's going to, I guess, exit from the administration. But that does not mean that the Doge efforts are exiting. It simply means that they'll be taken on by other members of the team and continue to expand.
Right.
One of the things I picked up from his comments is Doge is not a person. It's not a key single initiative. It's very much a way of thinking. And you focused a lot on the notion of Doge as it would relate to Georgia. Yeah. And so I think I've heard people comment on it that, you know, if you look at an agency or the government as a whole, you have a tendency to, many in the past have had a tendency to say, how do I retain my budget? How do I get more for next year so I can do more? Well, that's one way of focusing, but the other way is to say, how do I make sure we're doing the things that are most important and doing them most efficiently so we can produce the result? And I was lucky enough to work for a gentleman years ago that had a particular saying that has turned to be very true over time. Don't confuse effort with results.
Right.
And I think one of the keys to Doge is they focus on, you know, the result of everything that they're working on, and it does sound like it's going to continue. Tell us what you're planning and what your I guess what your vision is for a Doge thought process in Georgia.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Doge is, you know, is an ideal. All right. It's an idea about, maximizing efficiency and reducing waste. It's just like the idea of liberty. You know, liberty is a concept, and if the person that is behind liberty, you know, dies or something happens to them, that idea that does not die with them. Doge is the same way. In the Georgia Republican Party right now, we found, I believe we found like 14 different items where the chairman has spent money on personal items that at least deserve question. And in the Georgia GOP right now, there are no spending limits for the chairman. But what I can tell you is that spending is supposed to be authorized by the state executive committee. And not once in the last 2 years, with me serving as a second vice chair, have we ever been asked about anything that has to do with expenditure. So what we're going to do is, once I get elected, we're going to go back. We're going to do a 1-year audit, see what we find. If we find a lot of different things, we're going to go back and do 2 years, and we'll go back until we get to the point where we have clean books. And then once we've got those clean books, we're going to have regular financial statements that will be posted on the Georgia GOP website. I want to rebuild trust in this organization. I've gone to too many people that I've talked to, like large potential donors that are out there, and even small ones that are out there. And I asked them why they don't give to the Georgia GOP, and they say that they give money to the candidate and not to the party because they don't trust what's going to happen to their money once they give it to the party. So we have to rebuild that trust, and if we do that, and I think and I'm confident that we can. But once we do that, we are going to break fundraising records, and it's going to be from small donors all the way up. I mean, I would like to get to the point where we're bringing in, $5 million a year, so we can rebuild a war chest. We can, take over more slots in the state house and the state senate, and be of consequence when it comes to taking more United States, congressional House seats, and that's on top of. I'm going to tell you right now, we are going to send Ossoff packing, and then what's going to happen after that is that we're going to send Raphael Warnock out to pasture too. So that's the goal of this organization. We've got too many people that are out there, being really suspicious, saying that Cross wants to burn it down. And you know what? If I was going to burn it down, why would I have 22 initiatives to rebuild it? So I'm going to need a lot of help, in order to accomplish these things from new people and old people alike, and we're going to have to reunite this party.
Given the phrase you just mentioned, burn it down, there was an interesting post from one of the Democratic organizations in the last day or two using that same phrase, which we found fascinating.
I saw that.
That was originated by some folks that are supporting your opponent, Josh McCoon. And
yeah,
yet,
I think that was Act Blue, and so the way I interpreted that,
I think it was Blue Georgia.
Blue Georgia. So my wife was reading that to me, and I said, "Oh my gosh, the Democrats have endorsed Josh McCoon. This is amazing."
You really can't make that one up now, can you? They additionally they called, as I recall, they called you an election denier. Wait a minute, I thought we gave up that moniker when Tulsi Gabbard came out and said, "Oh, we've shown that the machines can be compromised, and we've got teams working on it right now." And then they called you a conspiracy theorist, and I think we ran out of conspiracy theories, at least on my list, about 6 months ago.
You know,
my,
David,
my tinfoil hat's in the trash.
you're talking about audits for 2 years, and I think the pucker factor of some people just went way up when you said that. And I had a vision of like Frau Barbissina saying, "Rig the elections." It's like, how are you going to make sure you get a real election in this thing and get some fairness?
Well, right now we're pushing for for paper ballots, in the state convention right now. To me, it boggles my mind why you know why leadership at the Georgia GOP does not want to follow President Trump's lead about secure elections right now. We should be setting the gold standard, for how to do this. It's just a logistics thing. People say, oh, you can, things can be, things will not be counted properly, or you can cheat and that kind of thing. And the reality is it's just a logistics issue. Sam Carline and Field Cersei have got the process. They've already sent it in, over to Josh McCoon at the Georgia GOP to show that we have a process that for counting these ballots. It's not that difficult. Is it going to delay, knowing what the results are instantly from clickers? Yes, but here's the thing. Clickers can be used for a while. And I mean, listen, I was elected in 2023, on the clickers, and Amy Kramer, was elected last year. But that's not to say that, that maybe you build confidence for a couple of years and then you come in and just sweep it all away. So I think we need to be using paper ballots, in these, in our elections, so that we can at least have a leg to stand on when we're asking the legislators to get rid of the machines in Georgia.
So we are about 5 days away from the actual convention, as we sit here today. Tell us what the remaining days look like for you, and where if folks want to come see you, where you may be speaking, and then some of the events that'll come up around the convention, if you could.
Yeah, so we have a event at DeKalb County tomorrow evening that's being hosted by DeKalb, by some folks from DeKalb County. I think there's going to be a lot of people that'll be there. Let's see, Tuesday I'll be speaking at the Golden Corral up in Gainesville for the MAGA Georgia group up there. Wednesday, I think I'm off. That's my birthday. Actually, I'm not off. I think we have a podcast that night that I'll be doing. And then Thursday, I'll be going up to the convention because we have early meetings for leadership that'll be happening up there. But on Friday evening, Steve Bannon is going to be speaking at something called the Victory Dinner. And listen, I've got a ton of people coming to this thing that that can't afford to spend an extra $100 per ticket to go to the Victory Dinner. So we're going to be hosting our supporters at a place called the Juicy Seafood. Don't know how I got the name. Oh, look at that! You got it right there on Walnut Square Boulevard, and we've got a couple rooms there that'll be reserved. So we're going to go from 6 until 10. My wife is going to be there at 6 o'clock, to welcome people. I'll be over at the Bannon dinner, because if you're running for chairman, you have to do the 3 Bs. Be there, be seen, be gone. So I'll be over at that event. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to say hello to Steve Bannon for a moment, and then hop over to visit with the Patriots that are supporting me. So it's gonna be a good event. And then one thing I want to let people know is that if you are in one of the outlying counties, and you want to come to this thing, but gas prices are keeping you from coming, or the $150 per person cost to go to this thing, which to me kind of feels like a poll tax. If some of those things are holding you back, reach out, to me or my team, or you may be getting if you're a delegate, you may be getting a telephone call from one of my people this week. And we've had a very generous donor that's agreed to help us out with helping people with gas cards and that kind of thing. And you can only get one if you actually show up. I'm not going to send you a gas card if you're not coming to this thing. but I really want to get people to come to this thing. And I even sponsored, a young Republican that wanted to come to the event that didn't have the cash to be able to come to this. And when I become chairman, we're gonna make it so that we're gonna give 100 scholarships to young people across the state. We're going to have a young Republican scholarship fund, because we've got to get younger people involved in this thing, because their energy and their vision is the future of the party.
That's a great idea. Okay, well, we will look forward to hearing more through the week and seeing you and the rest of the team at the actual convention itself. We appreciate you being here. I know this must feel like, you're a couple miles from the end of a marathon, but kudos and well done to the entire team.
But listen, thank you guys for your support. Thank you for being a good partner. And I appreciate everything you guys have done too, and getting out the message. I really appreciate it.
You bet. All right, we will hear more and see you soon.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Great conversation. Makes you, for those folks that haven't yet looked, I do recommend you go to David's website, Cross4 Georgia GA.com, and look at the plans that he's got. They've been growing. One of the things that is indicative of, I think, the approach that David and his team takes is there's been lots of feedback during these campaign events. And as that feedback has come in, that list has grown. So as people say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Some of these things get added to the list as initiatives to go forward.
Yeah.
It isn't a static list that's made up because, hey, we need some rhetoric to say what we're going to do. It's about, these are real things that can benefit Georgians.
His vision is off the charts good. I mean, it reminds me of that evening, November 3rd or whatever it was last year when Trump won, that a feeling of just freedom and a new day and excitement about what could happen. I mean, him talking about all his initiatives and leadership and building the party and raising money. I mean, wow, we haven't had that for years. So
that's right. And we had more of it in the first 100 days than anybody would have ever believed could be done, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. We have a new sponsor, not so new now, but Tucker Carlson's ALP. And if you go to alppouch.com/CDM, I'm going to run an ad and we'll briefly talk about it.
Since we launched ALP, we've had 4 flavors, but we are proud to announce ALP has a brand new flavor, one of several we'll be rolling out over the next year or so, and it is Sweet Nectar. I have personally tested this product 2 at a time, and it's excellent. Sweet Nectar, the new flavor out from ALP, really, really good. Go to alppouch.com. You can order it in bulk by the pallet if you want. I have strongly recommended Sweet Nectar. And stay tuned for morning flavors.
And it looks like I often do, I have to weigh in. I've tried them. I've never used any product like that in my life, and I found them very helpful. And if you look online, you might find some very interesting feedback regarding other benefits because of the content. So just a thought.
Yeah. Check it out. Don't use the Zen. If you're a lot of Zen users in Georgia, I guarantee you need to switch to the ALP. Go to alppouch.com/CDM. Don't support the woke people who don't like you. So we'll leave it at that. Back to you, Bill.
So one of the things that Chris touched on earlier, I wanted to spend a few minutes on, and that is, and I think David actually mentioned it, but I will take responsibility for what we cover here. This notion of not being forthcoming on questions is becoming to be a real issue, from what I gather in speaking with people as we go around the state. We reported earlier in the week and last week that Amy Kremer, let's explain who she is. She ran for the RNC committee woman for Georgia's GOP. So one of 2 representatives, in addition to the chairman, that go to the RNC. Those 3 people represent our state. So there are 3, I'll call it senior ranking folks that represent us to the RNC. She posed some questions because of all these findings around expenditures and supposed reimbursements and other things. And so she put up a list of questions in an email, sent them to Josh McCoon and Karen Henschel, and copied other people on the executive committee. She did that about the first week of May. In this particular post that she put up on May 20th, she said it had already been 2 weeks at that time. So that would put us around, the 5th or 6th of May, I guess. And, at the time she posted this, she said, I still haven't heard anything. She sent a reminder, still got nothing back. We're not talking about, oh, we'll get back to you. She got no response, none. This is one of the top 3 people in the GOP in our state. And so I wanted to make sure people understood she didn't ask a bunch of complex questions. These were very straightforward. Here's some examples. I'm very concerned. This is directly from her email, by the way. I'm very concerned about the charges being reported with the FEC. I'd like to request invoices and receipts for the 2 mailers sent out. Bear with me for a second. Mailers just like this that were sent out by Josh McCoon and the GOP that look like an update, but read like a in my personal opinion, read like a campaign brochure for Josh McCoon's reelection. Another question: I'd like to know who we are paying Best Guest Media. What individuals are we paying to book in the media or in an off-election year? Best Guest Media is an agency which helps ensure that folks that you want to get on certain programs are considered and hopefully accepted. And this was about a $5,000 charge, as I recall. I don't, as we sit here, know whether there were multiple of those, but $5,000 is nothing to sneeze at. And nobody's answered that question. Who is supposed to be benefiting from this and why? Then questions tickets to the tune of $3,500. She goes on to ask, who is the ticket for? Who attended a dinner at a particular steakhouse? Who attended a lunch at the Hayes Adam Hotel on the same trip around Christmas in 24? So a question about car rental. Question about the infamous $1,700 meal at Maestro's in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 6th, 2025. I mean, these aren't difficult to answer. This would take, 10, 15, 20 minutes probably to answer. This is now a month later.
Well, Bill, I just had a thought. This is very reminiscent kind of pattern recognition as you talk about the Fulton County GOP issues with the trust we reported on extensively last year. I mean, multiple $1,000s at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, the receipts that they could find. They couldn't find most of the receipts, but this seems to be a pattern of transparency.
Well, and that's what leads me to pose this question. So Ms. Kremer, ranking official for the GOP in Georgia, one of 3 Republican committee women for the state of Georgia, posed those questions first week of May. As we sit here today, we're at June 1st. So we're in the first week of June, essentially 1 month later. And to date, there has been no response from the people she posed this questions to, which includes Josh McCoon, Karen Henschel, and others copied on the communication. So exactly to your point, when does an individual or an organization stop answering questions?
Interesting.
When they don't want to answer them because the answers might be uncomfortable or more.
It seems obvious.
It does. And it's unfortunate and saddening, but people are picking up on this and they're going, hey, why is it that we're not talking about this stuff? What is going on that's causing this to shut down? And we can't answer that precisely, but we can point out the pattern, just as you said.
Well, great work, Bill, putting the show together.
Right. So I know you wanted to talk about things happening internationally, and then we had a very odd post from Trump that perhaps we can close the show with. So I'll flip it to you for the
yeah, sure.
your topic.
We've been up all night covering a massive drone strike across the Russian Federation, literally thousands of miles inbound from Ukraine. Well, air quotes, Ukrainians. There were a lot of Mack trucks and other vehicles that were parked outside of Russian air bases, and then the tops opened up, and drones started flying out of them, and they had been trained on AI to ID Russian bombers on the airfields. Brilliant tactic, I have to say. But we need to think of the consequences of this. I'm going to play this video real quick, and then we're going to talk a little more. These are the drones blowing up Russian strategic bombers on the airfield. This isn't that long. It's just a couple of short clips.
And you mentioned these came out of trucks that were nearby?
Parked outside the airfields, which is
Wow.
it's Russia's security problem. And I'm not making a call or pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian. What I'm talking about here, and I want to talk about after this, well, we'll get to it.
Оце так файно виглядає зараз аеродром Білая. Стратегічна ворожа авіація.
So that's not all the ones I wanted to show, but we didn't get at it, I guess. But you had this attack destroy a third of Russian strategic nuclear delivery capability on the ground. This is not, and again, I'm not talking pro-Russian or pro-Ukraine here. I think the war needs to end. I've been very vocal about that. But you had last week, you had a assassination attempt against Putin, and Trump said he didn't know about it by drones. This week, you have a third of the Russian nuclear air force destroyed on the ground, Bear bombers and other long-range bombers. Also, subs were attacked, we're told. There's going to be blowback, and they're meeting in Istanbul right now. Hopefully can find some way to get peace, but I guarantee you this is being done by people who don't want this war to end. And the leader of the free world is not in control, it doesn't seem. He was not told about this ahead of time, it seems, but this was not done by Ukrainians. This was either UK, maybe with the help of the CIA, elements of the CIA or DOD, which did this, got the targeting information. This took a year and a half to put together, they said. So what I am saying is there's going to be blowback. We've had a lot of sabotage during the Biden regime with bridges getting hit, trains derailing. East Palestine is another one. That could continue. The nuclear plant in Savannah, Georgia. This is going to come home, folks. There's that scene in The Patriot where he says the war will be among us. And I'm saying Trump needs to end this war, or our people are going to be involved in this. And the people around Georgia who are saying stand with Ukraine and are flying to Ukraine, they're involved in this. And it's going to be your kids who have to deal with this, or you personally and your family on the ground. So I'm just blowing a warning here. You need to be aware of what's going on. And the financial markets are not going to like this, I tell you, tomorrow morning. If you have assets that are in the fiat currencies, you need to look at cdmmetals.com and talk to Advisor Metals about how to protect your portfolio. It's not too late, but we're going to go through some really tough times here. And that's all I wanted to say about that, Bill.
I did have one follow-up question, and I don't want to make this sound too dark, but what they were able to do here could be done elsewhere in the world. Is that fair?
It is fair, and here's what you need to know: Russia is now in a use it or lose it situation with their nuclear forces. So that's not a place we want to be in the world. So this war needs to end. Trump needs to pull out of Ukraine completely with American help, and then let the Europeans deal with it. But this is not our war, and we don't need to threaten our whole homeland because of some nuclear war that these warmongering death cultists want. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So if we didn't need, or if we didn't have enough unusual things going on all at the same time, believe it yesterday, perhaps last evening, there was a post by Trump on Truth Social that got picked up and has gone all over in less than 24 hours. This is what he posted. He copied a post from another account on Truth and posted it under his own account. And it reads as follows: there is no, and hashtag Joe Biden, dash executed in 2020. Hashtag Biden clones doubles in robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Hashtag Democrats don't know the difference, and then a few more hashtags. This confounded everybody that saw it. And we will not draw conclusions as we sit here today. But it is very interesting, like many things, when you go back and you look at some of the things that Trump has said that have always seemed, a little, I'll call it a little odd. Let me play this one for just a moment, and then we have one more. And he's made comments about Biden in the past, but we wonder how it relates to what he posted last night.
Speech today, Joe Biden will say that your policies represent an existential threat to this nation. What do you say to Joe Biden?
Well, I heard Biden, who's a loser. I mean, look, Joe never got more than 1%, except Obama took him off the trash heap, and now it looks like he's failing. It looks like his friends from the left are going to overtake him pretty soon. But I heard, his whole campaign is to hit Trump. You look at what the Obama administration did in terms of the military, in terms of security, in terms of other nations, in terms of almost everything. Much of it now, fortunately for everybody here, has been overturned. But look, when a man has to mention my name 76 times in a speech, that means he's in trouble. Now, I have to tell you, he's a different guy. He looks different than he used to. He acts different than he used to. He's even slower than he used to be. So I don't know. But when he mentions my name that many times, I guess I should be complimented.
Bear with me. There we go. So there was that. And then there was this. It's a compilation of things that many heard him say during his rallies.
He is totally shot, okay?
He's shot.
The guy's shot. He's shot. He's shot. Biden is shot. You know he's shot, right? He's shot. He's shot, just so we understand. We cannot have a leader that's just about half shot. How's he doing? Not well. Joe is shot. It's shot. It's shot.
So we have that to consider today as well. You cannot make this stuff up. But
Yeah, pick the wrong day to quit sniffing glue. But
well, you'll have to look for another vice to replace it, apparently.
so I want to give one more shout out to our the Manhattan bestsellers list. If you go to our New York paper, the Manhattan.press, and at the top menu, and you click on the Manhattan bestsellers, there's the New York Times bestsellers list, but that's biased. If you are a conservative, you don't get on the list, or you don't get accurate numbers. We have a joint venture with History of Books. We get the best numbers out there, and we put out a very accurate list. We do a lot of work on this every week. There's editor's picks, there's children's books, fiction, nonfiction, history, politics, young adult, fiction and nonfiction. These are just the best-selling books that Americans or people buy across the world. And there's liberal books on here. It doesn't matter. It's just the best-selling books. You can buy the books also at the checkout book button underneath. If you want one of these books, buy it from us, not from Amazon. Help support free media. And if you go to cdm.press, there's our CDM bookshop in the top menu. And if you have a book to buy for your business, for school, whatever, vacation, summer's coming up, buy it from us. Don't buy it from Amazon, and support the dark side, support free media. That's all I got, Bill.
All right. Our next show for the Georgia show will be up Wednesday evening at 7. I bet we'll have plenty to cover. And then you're on tomorrow morning at 10. Is that right?
Yeah, we're on the skiff Monday through Friday. It's going to be a bang-up show tomorrow. I've got Ivan Raiklan. He apologized for missing out Friday. He'll be there for sure tomorrow. We're going to talk about this Russian issue. The skiff is getting very popular all over the world as an intelligence brief Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Eastern. So please join us for that if you want to be the smartest guy at the water cooler at the office. And also one comment from Lady Royale. She said, "What nuclear base in Savannah?" I meant the nuclear plant, not the base, just so you know. I just wanted to clear that up. All right, Bill, that's it.
All right. We'll see you next time. Oh, last reminder. The only way to make change, based on what you heard from David and we've said in the past weeks, is to participate and be there. So If
Yes.
if you can be at the state convention, if you're a delegate, even if you're an alternate, be there, because in many cases the alternates get elevated, and if you're not there, perhaps someone that doesn't share your views might get elevated in your place. So please be there. Reach out, as David suggested, and we hope to see you there. If you do go, come find me. I'll be there, and come shake my hand and get a thank you for participating. Okay. Thank you very much, and we will see you on Wednesday.